Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam diriyet. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 15 onwards. So Krishna is telling Arjuna about himself. And he says, last words, 14th verse was, Devi hi esha gunamai mam maya duratyaya mame ve prapadyante maya metam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So the key is to surrender unto Krishna. And now in this verse, Krishna says there are four kinds of people who will never surrender, who don't surrender. Text 15. Namam dushkritino mooda prapadyante naradhama mayaya paritajnana asuram bhavam ashritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, uh, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Means after listening to previous words and the verses prior to that, we would think everybody would like to surrender to Krishna to get away from Maya, the clutches of Maya. But Krishna says no, because the independence is still there. So he says, those miscreants, four kind of people they do not surrender. Those who are grossly foolish, namam dushkritino muda, grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, naradhama, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, mayaya aparit jnana, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of asurim bhavam ashit, who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. And clearly, if we don't surrender, then we cannot get over uh, this energy of Krishna. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, a question arises. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, and all the leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all powerful personality of Godhead? Mukti or liberation from the laws of material nature is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways and with different plans and perseverance for great many years and births. But if that liberation is possible by simply surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent and hard-working leaders adopt this simple method? It's very, very tricky and very confusing. Why they don't just surrender unto Krishna? And Krishna clearly says, you just surrender and you can overcome this material energy of mine. The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, Kumaras, Manu, Vyas, Deva, Lasit, Janak, Prahlad, Bali, and later on Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya, and many others who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, etc., but who pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada is saying those who are really the educators or philosophers or scientists or administrators, they will definitely surrender unto Krishna. Those who are just making a show, they don't surrender. Why? Because Krishna himself says, Mayaya aparit jnana, the knowledge has been stolen by illusion. No matter how big a scholar or academician we can pose, but if we don't surrender unto Krishna, then all the knowledge, all the scholarship, all the academics has no value actually. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy, nature, is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheists and baffle the knowledge of planning commission. And this is material nature, Maya. It is very powerful. Krishna himself says, Devi Esha Gunamai, Mam Maya Duratyaya. It's very difficult to overcome Maya. And those who don't surrender to Krishna, obviously they are under the clutches of Maya, and Maya can easily baffle the knowledge of all these so-called academicians or scientists or planning commissions. She can easily do that. It's not a big deal for her. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word dushkritina or miscreants. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. The atheist plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, but because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheistic's brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called Dushkriti, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. In Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It has no independent authority. It works as a shadow moves in accordance with the movements of the object. But still, material energy is very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works. Nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravan, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. So now Prabhupada is going in detail about all the four classes of men. He has written very long purport on this verse, and very nicely explained also. Let's see. So first class he says the Mudas, Namam Dushkritino Muda. And all these four classes, Krishna says they are Dushkriti, they are miscreants. They don't do anything properly. The Mudas are those who are grossly foolish, like hardworking beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves and so do not want to part with them for the supreme. The typical example of the beast of the burden is the ass. This humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under fear of being beaten by his master, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. So the mudas, they're compared to ass. Why ass? Because first of all, he works very hard to fill his stomach. He carries this big bundle of clothes from the washerman's house to the river and brings all the clothes back. And while bringing clothes here or there, washerman gives him little grass. So he thinks, I'm dependent upon the washerman's grass. He doesn't realize the grass is everywhere. When he's going to the river or coming back from the river, the grass is everywhere. He can easily go and eat the grass and fill his stomach. But the problem is, he thinks if the washerman does not give me the grass, I will die. So, just to get little grass from the washerman, he keeps on carrying such a heavy burden, heavy load of clothes. That's why he's called an ass. He has no brain of his own. And then satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. So it is mentioned somewhere that when a donkey approaches a she donkey for the relationship, she she hits him with her full force by her hind legs, the behind legs. She hits him, and then he goes, he cries, oh, he cries for a while because he has been hit so hard. Again he goes to her, and she again hits him with full force. And again he cries for a while, and again he goes, because he thinks this is her way of accepting him. It's that's why, uh, and that's why he says, Prabhupada says, he satisfies accepted at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this braying sound only disturbs others. This is the position of the foolish, fruitive worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma, action, is meant for yajna, sacrifice, and nothing else. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created duties say that they have no time to hear of the immortality of the living being. To such mudas, material gains which are destructible are lives all in all, despite the fact that mudas enjoy only very small fraction of the fruits of the labor. Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain, and although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they are satisfied with practically no food. They are simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters. Ignorant of their real master, the foolish workers waste their valuable time serving mammon. Unfortunately, they never surrender to the supreme master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. So this Prabhupada basically is talking about us, that we are also working very hard day and night to provide for the family, to provide for the future generations, or this or that. And Prabhupada said they serve the illusory masters because if we understand, if we surrender unto Krishna, he will take care. He himself says, "O Arjun, you declare it boldly, my devotee never perishes." And then he says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I personally carry what my devotee lacks and I preserve what they have. I personally do it. But it's a matter of faith, how much faith we have in him. Because many times he will test even the local masters that we are trying to serve. We have a manager that we are serving, we have a boss we are serving. They are all illusory masters. They're not the real masters. But even they are not reliable. They can kick us out anytime. So it's not that they will be satisfied. They'll be very happy by so much of hard work that we put in. But Krishna, on the other hand, he takes care of his devotees. He takes care of his servants. But we don't have faith. So this is what Prabhupada is writing. Unfortunately, they never surrender to the supreme master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. The swine who eat the night soil do not care to accept sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear of the sense enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. So, the foolish worker or the foolish mundane enjoyer, he will continue to hear of the sense enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world. Means of this mundane world, whatever gives pleasure to the people of this mundane world, the the foolish worker will keep on hearing, and he thinks this is the ultimate enjoyment. And this is what is going on in the whole world. If you look at the TV programs, look at the magazines they publish, Look at the movies, look at the whatever so-called source of entertainment is there in the material. It's all nonsense. It's all garbage actually. It's of no value. And it keeps on changing. New programs have to come, new movies, new songs, new TV programs, new magazines. It has to come to keep us engaged, to keep us looking for the new kind of sense enjoyment. But the real enjoyment, real pleasure is actually in the spiritual talks, Krishna Katha, Krishna Nam, Krishna service. That's where the real enjoyment is. But the moodas or the foolish people, they don't understand it. They'll never go for this. Another class of Dushkriti or miscreant is called the Naradham, or the lowest of mankind. Nara means human being and Adham means the lowest. Of the 8,400,000 different species of living beings, there are 400,000 human species. Out of these, there are numerous lower forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. The civilized human beings are those who have regulated principles of social, political, and religious life. Those who are socially and politically developed but who have no religious principles must be considered Naradhams. So, without religious principle, one is considered Naradham. Means even in Mahabharata it is said, Dharmen hina pashubhir narana. Without dharma, without religious principles, even a human being, he is like an animal. Nor is religion without God religion, because the purpose of following religious principles is to know the supreme truth and man's relationship with him. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead clearly states that there is no authority above him and that he is the supreme truth. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is all powerful. Whoever loses this chance is classified a Naradha. We get information from revealed scriptures that when the baby is in the mother's womb, an extremely uncomfortable situation, he prays to God for deliverance and promises to worship him alone as soon as he gets out. To pray to God when he is in difficulty is a natural instinct in every living being because he is eternally related with God. But after his deliverance, the child forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer also, being influenced by Maya, the illusory energy. So this is the situation of a Naradham, lowest of the mankind. It's a duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. So this divine consciousness is dormant in everybody. It's not like we're going to put in some artificial or outside exterior consciousness inside in the child or in the soul. No, it's everything is dormant. Everything is in there. It just it's just sleeping right now. The 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies, as enjoined in the Manusmriti, which is the guide to religious principles, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varnashrama. So, 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies means the sanskar. So, all the sanskar, what we do, is basically to revive our God consciousness. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world, and therefore 99.9% of the population is Naradhama. Even though having human form, but they're still not following religion per se. So they are called Naradham. When the whole population becomes Naradham, naturally all the so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the stand of Gita, the learned man is he who sees on equal terms a learned Brahman, the dog, the cow, the elephant, and the dog eater. That is the vision of a true devotee. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is incarnation of Godhead as divine master, delivered the typical Naradhams, the brothers Jagai and Madhai, and showed how the mercy of a real devotee is bestowed upon the lowest of mankind. So the Naradham who is condemned by the personality of Godhead can again revive his spiritual consciousness only by the mercy of a devotee. So those who don't surrender unto Krishna are Naradhams. They are lowest of the mankind. It's very, very heavy word. But many times people, when they meet Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would use these heavy words, they would say, those who are not following Krishna consciousness, those who don't surrender to Krishna are fools and rascals and men of lowest kind of human beings. So Americans, Europeans, when they would meet Prabhupada, they say, Swamiji, how can you use such a harsh language? And Prabhupada said, I'm not using it. Krishna is saying, I'm just repeating his words, basically. He said, this is given in Bhagavad Gita. I'm just repeating the words. The next class of Dushkriti is called Mayaya Aprita Jnana, or those persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of the illusory material energy. They are mostly very learned fellows, great philosophers, poets, literati, scientists, etc. But the illusory energy misguides them, and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. There are a great number of Mayaya Pratigyana at the present moment, even amongst the scholars of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Gita, in plain and simple language, it is stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is none equal to or greater than him. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human beings. In fact, Shri Krishna is said to be not only the father of Brahma, but also the father of all species of life. So this he says in Bhagavad Gita only. He is the root of the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. The super soul in every entity is his plenary portion. He is the fountainhead of everything, and everyone is advised to surrender unto his lotus feet. Despite all these clear statements, the Maya Aprita Jnana deride the personality of Supreme Lord and consider him merely another human being. They do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is the Supreme. Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna clearly says in Bhagavad Gita, Mattaha paratram nanya, there is no one above me, no truth above me. Aham sarvasya prabhava, everything comes from me. He's the father of everybody, father of all living entities, father even of Brahma. Means Brahmaji comes from him. But those who are not those who are not pious, those who are not devotees, they do not understand. And that's why they also don't surrender unto Krishna. It's because their knowledge has been stolen by illusion, illusory energy. All the unauthorized interpretations of the Gita by the classes Maya Paritagyana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. And Prabhupada is talking about people who have written commentaries on Gita. If they don't surrender unto Krishna, even their commentaries will be of no value at all. How powerful it is. The deluded interpreters do not surrender unto the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. First of all, those interpreters, those who dare to write commentary on Bhagavad Gita, they themselves are not devotees. They themselves don't take shelter of Krishna. So how in their writings they can ask anybody to take shelter of Krishna? It's not possible. Fourth, the last class of Dushkriti is called Asuram Bhavam Ashrita, or those of demoniac principles. This class is openly atheistic. Some of them argue that the Supreme Lord can never descend upon this material world, but they are unable to give any tangible reasons as to why not. There are others who make him subordinate to the impersonal feature Although the opposite is declared in the Gita, envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. Such persons whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So they cannot surrender or don't surrender. Shri Yamnacharya Albandaru of South India said, "Oh my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles, despite your uncommon qualities, features, and activities. Despite your personalities being confirmed by all the revealed scriptures in the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by the famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in the godly qualities." So Yamunacharya is saying, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles, those who don't have faith in you, those who don't believe in you, those who have believed that impersonal Brahmjyoti is the supreme. So despite your having so many wonderful qualities, and Krishna has clearly stated that he is Bhaktavatsala. He just loves his devotees. He doesn't love anybody else, only his devotees. And more purified we are, more advanced we are, more surrendered we are, more love we get from Krishna. Therefore, the grossly foolish persons are lowest of mankind, the deluded speculators and the professed atheists never surrender unto the lotus feet of personality of Godhead, despite all scriptural and authoritative advice. So next verse is also long purport, so I'll stop here. See anybody has any question or comment? No question. So should we just stop here? Okay. So, yes, Nata. Hare
If
Krishna.
we have time, Prabhuji, it's 9:10 only. If we can, if it's possible, we can.
What's that?
If it is possible, we can continue, Prabhuji.
The next purport is also very long. So next purport is about 4 kind of people who surrender into Krishna. So Prabhupada has given wonderful purpose I want to discuss in detail.
Sure.
That's why. So I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful Sunday. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.